Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I am your host, Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, a Disney-specialized travel agency. And normally I go into a big spiel here, but today I'm going to spare you all of that because this is a longer episode that I did with my friend Lauren Gaggioli. She's a Disneyland girl. Her home park is Disneyland. I'm a Walt Disney World guy. Of course, my home park is Walt Disney World. And she and I thought it would be a lot of fun to kind of compare the attractions that are both in Walt Disney World and out at the Disneyland Resort in Anaheim. So that is exactly what we did on this episode number 77 for the week of July 10th, 2017. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. It is a tale as old as time. A song, no, it's not. But it is a debate that has been going on for decades, and that is which versions of the attractions that are both in Disneyland and in Walt Disney World, which version of those attractions are or is better. Here to have an expected, intensely heated debate on the subject is a woman who will be chaining herself to the redhead in the auction scene in Pirates of the Caribbean very, very soon to preserve Disney history. Mrs. Lauren Gaggioli, welcome back to the show.
I love it. Oh, I so will. I'm very mad about the change, but thank you so much for having me back, Phil.
No, Lauren, thank you so much for coming back on. And I know I was texting you last week when that announcement was made, and
yeah.
You know what? And I get it. I understand it. I understand it, why it's happening, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. I don't like it.
I mean, if we're really going to get down to it, there shouldn't be a right about pirates, given what pirates do.
That's a good point.
So, that's kind of it's like, it's a piece of Disney history now, and it's, I don't know. Well, the decision's made, so nobody asked me before, so.
I know, and
apparently they don't care.
Have you seen the petitions on the internet? Like everyone's signing, and it's like got 30 or 40,000 signatures at this point.
They're going to have another Toad-in on their hands.
I know. It's going to be you, chained
it's me
to the redhead.
Yeah.
It would yeah. They're bringing the bulldozers in, or I guess they probably won't bring a bulldozer in.
Teeny tiny bulldozers.
Yeah. Sticks of dynamite that they're going to tie to the redhead to get her out.
Exactly.
So. All right, so the episode isn't about the redhead, but I'm sure she probably will come up.
Yes, I'm sure she will.
So what we're talking about is what I don't want to say. You know what? I'm going to say it. I don't care. Which version of these attractions on the two coasts is better?
Head to head.
No, because I'm kind of interested in how you went about this, because I am not coming from primarily a Walt Disney World angle. Because Walt Disney World's my home park, Disneyland's your home park. I didn't say, okay, I have to argue for every Walt Disney World attraction. Because I know some are just simply way better in Disneyland. Like, they just are. There's nothing you can do about it. So I'm curious to see how you kind of took it.
I'm so sorry. My dog is losing her mind. Someone must be walking outside that she can hear. Do you want me to go grab her, Phil?
No, we can. You know what? This is all. We don't like I don't like to edit stuff. We'll just leave it in. She's fine.
All right. She might go the entire time. If she
right.
does, I'll go grab her.
Yeah, if you keep grabbing him, no big deal.
Yeah, I grew up with land, but when I was pretty young, we moved to Atlanta, and that's when my dad told me, hey, there's this place called Disney World. And I was really excited about the prospect of going there every year. we had this pact that we would go to Disney every year. And when we moved, it changed locations, but it was still Disney. So, growing up, I kind of have memories from both parks. And I love the history of Land. It's the park that Walt walked in. It has his touch, but that doesn't mean they do it better there every single time. So I think this is going to be really interesting. And I'll be honest, as I thought about it and as I started to think about particular rides, there are some where I can make the case for both based on what you're looking for from the experience. So I think this is going to be a really interesting journey.
Yeah, I was the same. It was the same for me. Like, I was looking at them. I'm like, well, it was almost like a pros and cons list. Like, this one has this going for it, this going for it, this going for it. But, on the other side, this one has this, and this. So, yeah. All right. So we're going to start off easy. I'm going to give you a softball because I don't think, like, I don't want to go kind of back and forth. But I figure I'll just shout out the name of an attraction and we'll just kind of go back and forth on it. That's cool with you.
I love it.
All right. So first off, and it's not the same name and it's a different theme. So it's not the same exact attraction, but it's close enough. And listen, we're not going to argue. I think it's close enough. So
you get to make the rules. It's your podcast.
Exactly. All right. So we're talking in Disney California Adventure, not Disney's. They lost the apostrophe S somewhere along the way.
Yes.
In Disney California Adventure. Right. Goofy, and it's not Goofy Sky School, it's Goofy's with apostrophe S. Goofy's Sky School versus Animal Kingdom's Primeval World. Different themes, different, concepts, different lands, but basically the same attraction. Which is better? I want to leave it up to you first on that one.
So in the interest of full disclosure, my back does not take very well to this particular ride. I can do roller coasters. This is something else, that like whipping around corners. I'm not a huge fan, but I think it fits better in Animal Kingdom. I think the theming and I think the ride itself, it's kind of kitsch. Like you feel like it could have been set up as part of a carnival. I think it works better there than Goofy's Sky School is just kind of hanging out and it doesn't really fit with the story of the boardwalk area. And so for that reason, I prefer the one in Animal Kingdom.
I agree. And what's funny about it is, when did it fit better? Did it fit better when it was Mulholland Madness, or does it fit better now? It doesn't. Either way,
neither.
It doesn't really fit. But it's better. It's better at least that area is more cohesive now than it was Disney-fying California Adventure, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Primeval World, I liked that it popped up in a parking lot of the Dino Institute. And I know a lot of people still don't get that about that area. Mm-hmm. That it's supposed to be like a kitschy kind of thing. And I hear a lot from people like, oh, Walt didn't want carnival games, and that's the point of it, right?
Yeah.
It's the point of the area. But anyway,
absolutely.
I'm not going to spend too much more time on that one. That's crazy. Okay. if we sit and talk about Goofy Sky School versus Primeval World for another minute, I'll be in trouble.
All right, moving on.
Moving on to next one in California Adventure, and it's Toy Story Midway Mania. I'll go first on this one.
Yeah.
Lauren, basically, it's the same darn attraction in both parks. I mean, is it different? It's not different at all. But
no.
The difference is, now, I don't know what you were thinking. I included the queues, and because you mentioned the way Goofy Sky School fits in, so I'm assuming you included the queue and kind of the surrounding area as well. So I think it fits in better in Walt Disney World. Just my opinion, only because, well, eventually that's all going to be Pixar Place, and it's all going to, or Pixar Land, I guess. It's all going to fit better into that land. But I think the queue was better. I like now I'm kind of talking myself out of it, actually, because I'm thinking about how it kind of fits with Mr. Potato Head into the kind of boardwalky kind of feel in California Adventure. But I'm going to argue that it's better in Walt Disney World at Hollywood Studios.
All right. I think this is one where I can make the case for both because, of course, the attraction is the exact same thing.
Right.
I love Mr. Potato Head, the barker standing there and talking to you while you're walking by or while you're standing in line. I love hearing the screams from people on the roller coaster above you while you're in the queue.
Yep.
But I agree that over in Hollywood Studios, it's going to fit better, I think, in the future in terms of location. And the queue, it almost feels like you're walking into a game. Like you're going into a box that is the game. And so in that sense, they have very different feels.
Yeah.
I'm partial to ours, I'll say, we California people. I like the way that it fits in there because it does feel very much like it's part of the vibe. But I do think in studios, I think it's going to give me a run for my money once I come back, once they've got Pixar rocking there, because I'm so looking forward to that land. It's going to be awesome.
I know, I am too. And now I'm thinking, you're right, because now I'm thinking of the way Mr. Potato Head is outside and the California screaming over your head, and yeah, it's cool.
And I've only ever done the Fast Pass line in Orlando. Do they have a barker there? Do they have Mr. Potato Head?
Yeah, they do. Okay. So he's in the queue, but you also kind of get shrunk down to the size of a toy in Andy's room, which is really cool in the queue. So they have I think I've only done the Fast Pass in Disneyland. So we're both.
Oh, that's funny.
We both kind of stink.
With our powers combined.
We can't give an actual answer on this one.
Yeah.
So this is the draw. There's going to be a couple draws. There's nothing we can do.
For sure.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do. I mean, come on. We're only two people here. We
needed a third as a tie break. We didn't think about this.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point. And Amy, I think, is sleeping. It's almost It's almost 10 o'clock on East Coast time. So yeah, she's definitely asleep. All right, so we'll call that a draw. Moving, now I'm forgetting. No, it's not too far from that one. In California Adventure is, and this one has two different names, right? So in California Adventure, it's The Little Mermaid Ariel's Undersea Adventure, and in Magic Kingdom, it's Under the Sea Journey of the Little Mermaid. I know right off the bat which one I think is better, even though, again, the attraction.
I think I'm probably with you on this one.
Yeah, the attraction is pretty similar, but go ahead, Lauren. What do you think? Which one's better?
Oh, I think it's World.
Yeah, I agree.
Hands down, that queue, the transformation. I mean, it's just the attraction as far as I've seen is exactly the same. Maybe it travels a slightly different path, but in terms of the scenes and the lines and everything, it's by all accounts very, very similar. But I don't think there's very much difference between the animatronics. Everybody kind of looks like they were put together at the same time and all that. So, yeah, but that queue is gorgeous. And I just love your Fantasyland. It's so gorgeous.
So there's a couple little differences that Walt Disney World kind of addressed because
really,
there were some little spots like there's a spot where when you first go under the sea and you go backwards down that little hill, and you see the bubbles on the screen ahead, or on the shell in front of you or behind you, however you want to see that,
yeah,
because you spin around. And then you look over your head and you see the screen with Ariel turning into, I forget. That's not when she gets her legs. I forget what that part is.
I think that's it.
Well, it's right before the under the sea part. When you first go in the water. And they have, on either side of your vehicle, on the walls, they're like moving fish and all. Originally, Walt Disney World, they weren't there. Like they got some complaints that there wasn't enough to see. So they added a little bit more to the attraction. Also, in Disneyland, I don't know if you remember, I don't know about Disneyland. I know Walt Disney World originally, Ariel had this is so nerdy, and I'm sorry, so please forgive me.
No, go there. This is the place to nerd out about Disney.
It is. And I think the average listener to this show is like me. They're just a complete, I want the details, so Yeah, I want to give it to you. So, the Magic Kingdoms one, in the Kiss the Girl scene, Ariel's hair was like this rubber, kind of like rubber animatronic hair. And when she turned her head and shook her head, it didn't move and it didn't really work. So they changed it to the actual hair, like Disneyland has. And it sounds like it doesn't matter, but it makes such a difference in that one little scene and that one little part where she shakes her head because it moves and I know it sounds weird, but trust me, it makes a big difference. But yeah, I completely agree. The queue is awesome. And with the interactive crabs and everything, it makes it so much better. And it also has the two of the coolest hidden Mickeys anywhere in any Disney park. The queue. And
really?
Which I'm going to tell you about really quickly.
Yes, please.
So the one is the Steamboat Willie hidden Mickey. When you're coming out of the attraction, out of the exit, down a little ramp to get back into New Fantasyland, if you look to your right as you're exiting the attraction, I think there are 4 rocks that line up in a certain way, like in a forced perspective kind of way, where the furthest one is the biggest, and as they get closer to you, they get smaller and smaller. And they line up, the 4 of them, if you look at them in the exact right angle, line up to Steamboat Willie, holding the steamboat wheel. And it's really, really cool. That's a really cool one. And the other one is the light that comes through the top of the queue. So they have the rock formations that you walk through to get into the attraction. On one day, on Mickey's birthday, which now for right now I can't remember off the top of my head. It's November or something, right? I forget the date.
Ooh, I don't know.
It might be November 18th, but don't quote me on that. I forget.
All right.
I think it's November 18th though. But again, I'll look that up and fix it. I'll put it in the show notes. But it's the way this Imagineers figured out that on that day for a select number of minutes, the sun hits the rock formation in a certain way that the sun will come through and shine the 3 circled hidden Mickey on a rock in the queue only on Mickey Mouse's birthday, one time a year for like a few minutes.
Wow.
That is the coolest hidden Mickey I think they've ever done.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
It's only on his birthday and it only lasts, I think, for 20 minutes or so. So
I do hope his birthday is in November because that's when mine is, and I can probably work a trip around that event. So
hold on, tell a funny story. Hold on, Lauren. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on. Let me quickly Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
Birthday. I'm looking it up right now. November 18th. I was right.
Look at you,
dude.
Nice poll.
See this? They don't give these shows to chimps, man. I know they don't. Anyway, so let's move on. That's it. November 18th. And you know what's really cool about this one too? In California Adventure, there's never a line ever.
No, that is nice.
It is a walk on almost every time I've ever been there. So that's very, very cool.
Again, kind of a weird thing to have it where it is, but it works.
What used to be there? It was the Whoopi Goldberg show?
I have no idea. I cannot remember. It's, my father is a San Francisco native. He's going to be so sad. I don't know the name of this building. It's not the Coit Tower. It's in like basically a replica of a building that's in the Palace of Fine Arts, I think. Okay. In San Francisco. And so it's like that little street that's San Francisco-y and then Ariel. So I don't know what was there before. I think it's just a, fact of they added all the Disney stuff later and that was the place it would fit. So it's not 100% good. I guess you could say, you're coming down the streets of San Francisco headed towards the bay, which also happens to be the boardwalk, and there's the mermaid. I guess you could make that. Mermaids in it.
There you go. That's perfect.
You can make that case for it, but the location in Eric's castle, or below Eric's castle in Disney World, it really fits.
See, we'll get to that too, because I agree that New Fantasyland is amazing, but the old Fantasyland so to speak, in Disneyland is awesome.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get out there in like a couple of days to see all that.
I know, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait. Okay, so next one up. We got to keep moving because I'm going to talk about one attraction all night.
I know, me too.
All right, so next one up, soaring around the world at California Adventure in Epcot. Who went first last time? I think it was you.
I did.
So I'm going to go first this time. Again, basically the same attraction. Not a whole lot going on. That's different. It's the same film. The one thing that I like about it in Disneyland and California Adventure is I feel like thematically it fits better into that. It's Condor Flats, right? Is where it is.
Yes.
Or at least what it used to be called. Is it still called that? I forget.
I think it's still Condor Flats. Yeah.
So I think it fits into that area. I love the paint job they gave that area over there. It used to be like a loud, bright. Now it kind of feels like an airfield. Like when you walk through, you really feel like that. I think it fits in better there than it does at Epcot. But my question to you is that alone better to say it's a better experience here than in Epcot?
So, confession, I've never been in Epcot because the line's always so long, and I never want to get a fast pass because I have it out here. So why would I? The one beef I have with it now is it's the world, and they have 2 hangars, and I feel like one of them should be California because they clearly still have that video. So. Right. I think I would split the hangars, but I do love the feel of walking in there. You're behind the Grizzly River Rapids. There's this really great feel to that area, and you're you're kind of back in the shadow of the Grand Californian. It feels very, American Craftsman, the California 40s. Like, I don't know. It feels very. I don't know exactly what word to use except for very well themed.
Yeah.
And I felt like Soarin' Over California really fit that. World sort of creates a little separation. I think it makes a lot of sense in Epcot, but I think the attraction's so similar. I'm not like walking in isn't that like the queue isn't that much of a big deal for that ride. Like it is for, say, Little Mermaid, where it's setting the story.
Right.
So to me, it's a wash. I just really like that area of California Adventure. And it's always really nice and cool back there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's a great on a hot day. It's my favorite place to walk.
You know what? What's funny is I remember going to California Adventure on our honeymoon. And Amy and I were like, okay, like that was well before any construction had started there. And we, the area was just we were just blah. Like I was like, all right, like it's fine. And Soarin' was there, and that was fun. And Soarin' Over California, and just now walking through there, you're right. It just it has such a different feel to it. I really, I was surprised. Like I remember walking around with a friend of mine and being like, I think this is my favorite area that they've redone. Like of course, Cars Land. By far is just ridiculously cool. But as far as an area that was already there, the buildings were there, they had to retheme it. I think they just did an amazing job with that area. Like you said, it's not, I can't figure out the word either, but it feels like right. Like it feels like it should, I think. Like it feels very Rocketeer to me. And I don't know if that's the right word.
But
I think Rocketeer was in a desert, right? Not in like the Pacific Northwest or wherever it's
probably
supposed to
not, but it's okay.
It feels like that. I don't know. It's like that era anyway.
All right. And like with the plane that's sitting there, that's so cool. And like Aviator Chip and Dale, I think they do a meet and greet there. They're so cute. Like it's just, I don't know. It does have a really nice kind of rustic feel to it.
That's a good word. Rustic is a good word. I like it. All right. So moving on again, here's another one. Turtle Talk with Crush. Do we really have to say anything? This is kind of a wash, I think.
It is. I mean, the thing I'm always surprised by are how many friends of mine who are world people who go to land and do not walk in the animation pavilion. So if you are that person and you get to come back to Disneyland, you have got to go in there. incredible. And what I always try and do is have people close their eyes. I walk them to the center and then have them open up their eyes into, I won't describe it too much, but I love that where it really, really sets the stage. But the attraction's the same, and Crush is awesome. So
yeah, I mean, you know what's really funny about that? You mentioned that is I don't think on my first trip I went into that pavilion. I think you're right.
It's
I don't
sneaky.
think I went in there. Yeah,
Yeah.
When you walk in, you're like, whoa, this is a lot more than I expected. And I remember I was there for, I was there for D23 2 years ago. And that was my last time in Disneyland. And I think they had a whole Snow White thing going on in there. With all the original, like, cells from Snow White with the animation cells, which was so cool to see that stuff in person. I mean, you don't realize that Disney has all that stuff locked away. I want to see, by the way, I know that it's not a vault with a door, like a bank door, but that's what I imagine it to be. Do you remember the old Walt Disney thing on, you might be too young, Lauren, on Turner Classic Movies. Do you remember that show at all?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, vaguely. I don't think I wasn't, tuning in every week or whatever, but
You
yeah,
were like 9.
probably.
I was like 30.
That's okay. Hey, we don't have to talk numbers here.
But no, I
but
remember.
that would be something to go back and look up for sure.
So yeah, like I think it was on Sunday nights or maybe Saturday nights. It shows how much of a cool guy I was in my teens and 20s. There was this show called Walt Disney, and it was they would open the Disney Vault and show an old Disney cartoon or a movie or something that hadn't been seen in a while on Turner Classic Movies, and it was so cool. So I imagine that being, Mickey unlocking the vault to take out, but it was not like that. But
yeah,
that's kind of what I imagine. Anyway,
well, and that's what they pull for the Family Museum. I think, all their different archives. I mean, they don't throw anything away.
Nope. No.
And that's the coolest part. You're like, they probably ditched that, or they don't know where it is. Like, no, they know where everything is, and they're going to bring it out and put it out there for us to enjoy, which it just keeps us all coming back for more.
I mean, geez, they have the bird that Walt Disney brought back from I think was it Mexico or South America? That was the original inspiration for the audio animatronic characters. They have that. Like, that they pull that out every once in a while and show people. Like, that's crazy to me that was saved, but it was. You know what I think is really cool? The dancing man in One Man's Dream in Hollywood Studios. Do you know what I'm talking about? The Buddy Epps.
No.
So Walt made it's the first ever audio animatronic human was the dancing man, and it's Buddy. They brought Buddy Ebsen in to stand, on a stage, and he danced for the artists and the animators, and they drew it and they animated it and all, and then they created this mini Buddy Ebsen figurine, and they used I believe it was, I might be wrong, and somebody can tell me if I'm wrong. I believe it was a film projector, like a motor, to run it. And it was the first ever audio animatronic where they would plug this thing in and turn it on, and he would dance. And
how cool.
It was an animatronic figure. And it's still there in One Man's Dream in Hollywood Adventure. And I heard a story, I think it was Tony Baxter or somebody that found it in the archives. And it's not a little thing. I mean, it's this huge display. And they asked them, like, it was on display, and they asked them when it was on display in One Man's Dream, this has a plug. Does it still work? And he was like, I don't know. We were too afraid to plug it in. And because they didn't want to break it. So,
yeah.
But it's kind of cool. Anyway, that was just my...
Oh, that's awesome.
Again, Lauren, you got to stop me before I go off into these tangents.
No, I love these little detours. I'm always looking for new facts, so I love it. Thank you.
There you go. All right.
Learning something tonight.
Yeah, right? All right. So, okay, now on to the next one. It's Tough to Be a Bug. I think you're up for your first thoughts on Tough to Be a Bug.
Oh, yeah. I like Disney World. I mean, again, attraction, same thing. At least I haven't been on in a while. I don't have little ones, and Hopper scares me. So
you and my son Jack are both afraid of him.
He's terrifying.
Yes.
Like he's forget the Yeti. He is the most terrifying animatronic. So I prefer the queue and walking in, down around the Tree of Life and all that. So that to me takes the cake. But it's not bad in California where it is, because it's got kind of those groves, and you're like, yeah, okay. They're making, I think they're trying to tie in that bugs are a part of agriculture. I think it sort of fits the story there too. But yeah, I don't know. There's something special about the Animal Kingdom one.
Yeah, and it's like as you walk closer and closer to the tree, you're getting smaller and smaller, and then eventually you walk into the tree and you're the size of a bug. Agreed. It's again, same attraction, but better because of the surroundings in Walt Disney World, I think.
Definitely.
I think so far, amazingly, because I didn't think it would go that way, Disney World has the edge, but we got a while.
We do, and there's some big ones coming up.
There's some heavy hitters, yeah.
Yeah.
The next one I wanted to go with, actually, was, and this is going to come out of left field for you, because it's kind of a heavy hitter, and a, kind of, out of nowhere, the monorail. So the Disneyland monorail versus the Walt Disney World monorail.
Oh, okay. So which monorail line in Disney World? Are we just talking the whole system?
Yeah, I think, right. I don't know. I think we have to go the whole, just as a whole.
As a whole. All right.
And I'm going to go with, I'm going to lay it out there for myself. So this one was really tough for me when I was trying to figure out which one to me was better. Disneyland's monorail, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, because you're more of a pro at Disneyland than I am. It's more of an attraction, I think. So I think we're talking about which attractions are better. So I feel like you can, honestly, I think if you kind of walk fast, you can get to Tomorrowland faster than you could by riding the monorail there. And it's not really true. It's obviously you're getting there faster on a monorail, but it's not like the smooth, easy ride of the Walt Disney World monorail. I was surprised when I rode it for the first time. It kind of shakes from side to side, and it's not made for tall people. Thank God I'm, not very tall. Because if you're tall, you can't even stand up straight on the thing.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
You and me both. It's funny. But listen, it's the original. It's the Disneyland monorail. It's the one that Bob Gurr took Vice President Nixon on a joyride, around Disneyland. I mean, I don't know. Even if I think the ride is better in Walt Disney World, if I think it's not a better attraction, to me, I think Disneyland is the better one. But that's just me. I mean, it doesn't. Walt Disney World's monorail, the whole monorail system, doesn't have that like aura around it that Disneyland's does.
Yeah, and it's much less traversed in Disneyland. Like, it's not a thing that people do. I mean, don't get me wrong, people ride it, but it's such a utilitarian thing in World. It's a way you get around.
Right.
You can take the monorail, you can sometimes walk places, drive places, take a bus, take a boat. You have options. And in the middle of summer, the monorail is not your friend in Florida. It is sticky and gross. And so, you get on it, you hold your breath, and you get to where you need to go. Beautiful vistas, but it is, I think, a different mindset. Like, when you choose to, instead of going on the submarines, you go up into the monorail, you are choosing to exit the park and go to another area, but you're doing it in a way that, I don't know, it's so different. And when you use it to enter the park, I think that's where the attraction really is.
Yeah.
That way you sweep in over Tomorrowland and you get the view of the lagoon, and you have the vista of, the Matterhorn. I think it's akin to the Epcot approach, in terms of, like, you have the view, but you're looking at Walt's world. And to me, that as an attraction, that definitely gives it the edge. Because I don't know anybody who goes and gets on the Epcot monorail to see that vista. Like, they're doing it because they want to go to Epcot, and the vista is just a bonus.
I just raised my hands. You did not see it, but that's me.
Yeah,
I am the one person.
You
seriously.
do it for the vista?
I do it. I
Wow.
love that.
Oh, tonight, it takes my breath away.
When you're
for
done,
sure.
when we're done on this call, go on my Facebook page and look at how many times I videoed that.
Oh no, I've seen it. We're friends.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that. Like, I've done it like 7 times. Like anybody would, like, it changes. It never changes. It's the same. Like, it's not like the monorail can take a different turn. It's the same thing every time. But I love that, and I think your answer is perfect because that's like when I'm staying at the Disneyland hotel, I'll take the monorail and just to get that experience.
Yes,
it's so cool, and you can almost feel like the nostalgia of Bob Gurr or Walt Disney riding on it in 1960 something. It's really cool.
There's something really neat about starting outside the park and ending up inside the park too.
I agree.
Which you cannot get at Disney World.
No.
It feels like a sneaky back entrance that nobody except everybody knows about.
But you're right though. Like when you get to that to the station at Downtown Disney, and it doesn't. It's weird. Like as someone who doesn't get out there much, this will be my 5th trip. I think it doesn't feel. It feels like you're right. Like you're doing something wrong almost. Like you scan your park ticket before you get on the monorail, which is different than you get off and you can just jump right in line somewhere in Tomorrowland or ride the Matterhorn, or it's just cool.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I've noticed too when you ride the monorail into Disneyland are the sheer number of tracks that are kind of around. Like for things that are still there and things that aren't there anymore. I feel like there's just like an abundance of tracks everywhere in Disneyland. Like, you know what I mean? When you're riding through?
Yeah.
Like, you'll see like I think the old People Mover track's still there, right? So you see
So that was Rocket Rods.
Right.
That they re-upped for Rocket Rods and did a great job on.
The tremendously popular Rocket Rods that nobody rode.
Man. That could be the disappointment of that ride could be an entire episode.
That's another one we have to do is we should do that, the failed Disney attractions podcast.
That would be awesome.
See, that would be a good one because I feel like so many of my episodes are like positive and you have to go to Disney, but that could be a really funny one because there's some clunkers in there. I mean, they've had some clunkers. All right. Next one we're going with Space Mountain. I think it's my turn to start this one out.
It is.
And all right, this one's going to divide us, I think. I really think so because even though the one at Disneyland has the 2 seats side by side and it's smoother and there's the soundtrack a la like Rock and Roller Coaster in your car. And I'm piling on. And Disneyland, I think, has the better queue. I think that's pretty much a fact that Disneyland's queue is better, especially the indoor part of it. I still think that Walt Disney World's Space Mountain is better, only because, and this is going to sound weird, and maybe it's just me, only because it's jerky like the Matterhorn, like it's you can get bruised, you can get beat up on it, and I love it. I love like
and
that
it's your favorite. Wait, what?
No, it is. I love that old school feel of like
you're really selling it, Phil.
No, seriously. Like I feel like you can get on there, and I don't know since they've gotten rid of the the projection on the ceiling with the chocolate chip cookies kind of flying over your head. And it's pitch black, like completely, like totally pitch black in there. Like I've been in the front. The front car is the absolute best on Space Mountain because if you're behind someone, you kind of see their shoulders dipping or going up before yours do. But if you're in the front, man, you have no idea what's coming. I just think I don't know for the getting beaten up reason alone. I think I like Walt Disney World's better, but I have a feeling you might be thinking differently, but I don't know.
We are super in a fight here.
That's cool.
So if you'd like to get a punch thrown at you by a roller coaster, ride Space Mountain at Disney World. For me, the Space Mountain in Disney World is the first one I went on. And I went on it before they closed off the queue. So to me, I remember like my heart in my throat as I was going to brave this new mountain. I could hear people shrieking. The cookie was flying. Like I remember that. And to me, that was Space Mountain. And then we moved back to California. So I was always a little bit of a scaredy cat. I didn't go on Space while we lived out here the first time, but coming back and going on it side by side, to me, is a better shared experience. And for me, that's what and also it doesn't beat you up as much. So for those two reasons, I like it more, because if you want that herky-jerky experience, you can go right up the road and hit the Matterhorn, and essentially you're getting the same experience that you'd get, although it's light. And our Yeti is so cool now. But the Space Mountain that when I think now of Space Mountain, not that first experience, but, down the line, if I get to choose, I'm choosing Disneyland, because I can sit side by side with someone that I know and like, at least maybe love, if my husband's on there with me, and we get the soundtrack, we got everything. And Hyperspace Mountain, like, takes that to 11. It is so cool what they have done. And I just enjoy it every time. I mean, I come off laughing my head off. It's so incredible. So I'm just such a fan of ours. And you don't really have, it's interesting you brought up the shoulder thing and seeing the person in front of you. Because of the way that our cars are structured, they're higher. So you don't necessarily see that movement as much. And I think because they're wider too, there are fewer clues no matter where you're sitting as to where you're headed. So I think that would end up being a plus out here for me as well.
Well, yeah. You make a good argument, but we're going to have to agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree. All right.
This is the first one we really didn't agree on, I think. But yeah, I'm sticking to my guns on this one. I love. All right. And you know what? I'm going to be out there next week, and I might be like, nah, I was wrong. And I will tell you if I'm wrong. I'm bringing Alexa on it for her first ever Space Mountain ride. So I'm super excited about that.
My gosh. Yeah. And you know what? The thing too with little ones is sitting next to them is so different. I went on it. Our friend, their daughter wanted to ride. She'd been on it before, but she's still young, and it was Space Mountain, and she wanted to hold my hand. Space Mountain in Florida. Can we talk about how it will break your ribs if you try to hold hands with the person in front of you? Like if you're leaning over.
Gotta sit back.
Oh, it hurt. Yeah. I got totally punched by the ride. So you would be okay with that, but I was not.
And if you're taller than I am, like if you're 5'9", I'm 5'7", by the way, you might have trouble getting your legs in that thing in Space Mountain.
Yeah. But again, someone was making that argument as they talked about the issues with flights of passage with people who are larger, and that being a potential issue. They were talking about, well, what about tall people on Space Mountain out there in Florida? It's harder, here.
Can't fit.
Yeah, I think ours. My husband's 6'2". It's not a comfortable ride, but he can do it. He doesn't not go on it because he's tall.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 5'7". I can fit in everything.
Yeah.
I can
ride
pocket.
in luggage, in overhead, no compartments in the flights. I'm a cheap travel partner.
All right. So on to the next one. Staying in Tomorrowland in both parks. And Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters, or the different title for Magic Kingdom, Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. I think, Lauren, you're going first in this one, right?
Oh, Disneyland wins. Hands down.
Agreed. I don't think it's even a question on that one.
No.
Like, yeah, this
the articulating guns, like being able to take your gun out and shoot. also the different shapes and their point values. To me, like, yeah, there's other stuff too. Like the big Zergs are so cool. But oh man, I love it. I think it's so fun.
I agree, and the interactive element too. The set pieces that move that don't move in Walt Disney World's version.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you shoot. I remember there's one part where you shoot something in a box and like the box opens, and like you don't get that in Magic Kingdom's version. And I would hate. I don't want to see it go away in Magic Kingdom, but I think they could have done a lot more with interactive elements of it.
And I feel like it wouldn't be hard to add them.
No,
you know, I mean, obviously, I'm not an Imagineer. I don't know exactly what it would entail, but like the one you're talking about, the box that you open has a third piece to it. Do you know that?
I do not. No, I didn't know that.
So you shoot the box
now I
and
gotta
then
figure
it
that out
opens.
next week.
I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you next week.
Awesome.
And then you hit what's on the lid, and then the alien comes up, and there's a triangle, and it's oftentimes lit, which means it gets the bonus points, and you're really close to it, so you can get extra bonus points.
Yeah, no, I did not know about that. All right, so
yeah,
it's obviously better. There's no argument for me. I can't argue for the one in Magic Kingdom. I've gone on record and said the one in Magic Kingdom has the worst queue in all of Walt Disney World. I think the queue is just. There's nothing to it. It's brutal. And again, I'm not afraid to, this is why Disney will never offer me anything for free. Because I'm honest. Actually, that's not true. I just got a free trip to Disney. But I'll
take that back.
Yeah, never mind. No. But the like, it's stuff painted on a wall, basically, is what they did with that queue. And it bums me out because there's so many great queues everywhere in Magic Kingdom, especially, that they really could have done a little more with it. But I understand. It's not a big area. They kind of have to fit a ton of people just to get them in the air conditioning for that queue. But yeah, I do wish they would have done more. All right, moving on before I trash it too much. And staying in Tomorrowland in Disneyland, but going over to Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World, Star Tours. Again, basically the same attraction. So, I'm telling you, to the listener who's like, dude, both you guys are just talking about the same darn attractions on both coasts. Some of them, listen, we're going to get to it.
Some of them are very different.
Yeah. This one doesn't happen to be. The attraction's very, very 100% similar. But to me, I'm giving Disney World the nod only because, and not even the queue, but the outside part of the building with the AT-AT and the Ewok Village, I think, just tremendously ups the experience. And I know that's the Disney nerd in me, the Star Wars nerd in me, completely, because, it doesn't add a whole lot to the attraction, but it kind of puts you in that mindset before you get into the building. Disneyland has a door, and you walk into a building. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's been a while since I've been on the World one, because I usually go, well, I don't go to studios very often of late. That will change in a year or two. But
that'll also change once, and I did mention this before we started talking, but once you have a little one,
oh yeah,
you are going to be at every show.
Oh my gosh,
dude, a little girl. Are you kidding me? Listen, as a dad to two little girls, you think the studios doesn't have a lot to do until you have little girls. And then you will spend several days a trip at the studios.
Oh, I can't wait.
Frozen
I do
and
miss
Little
that
Mermaid part. And Beauty and the Beast, and those three shows alone, you will see 3 or 4, and Disney Junior Live on Stage. Oh my God. You'll see all of those like 3 or 4 times a trip. So get ready.
I am so excited to see it through her eyes. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
You got a lot of studio time.
I probably won't be on Star Tours, though, is the downside.
No, so going back to the one we were talking about, no, you won't be.
Yeah, but I think for me, when I'm in Disney World, I want to do the things that feel different and are different. And I can enjoy the difference of that by standing, is it Tatooine Traders, standing near there and observing that aspect of the queue. That was the first Star Tours I went on, because that was, I manned up and went on it before we moved back to California. And I remember the first time I bailed. There was is Darth Vader still inside? In the queue?
The queue, not once in a while you get him to walk it, but not often.
Okay, because he was in the queue when I was there, and I lost my mind.
when I worked the Star Tours, I remember one of my first days. I emptied a simulator, and it was toward the end of the day, and the others I was checking it for, you check the bags and all for things people leave behind. And the other side of the simulator was locked. And it opened, and I didn't open it. And, the exit side of the simulator, and the doors opened. And I look up, and here comes Darth Vader walking through the sim.
Oh.
And for a minute, it freaked me out.
Yeah.
Like I was like, whoa. And then I realized
I was like 7 when this happened, so I don't know what your excuse is.
I might have been 25.
That would still be pretty intimidating.
I mean, come on. Again, my height 5'7", he's like 6'4". Like, come on. But yeah. So, and then I caught the character attendants with him, and I was like, oh no, it's okay. But I did get a little freaked out. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. So I have fond memories of that as my first experience. I just love, again, that they tell the story, they get you into the Star Wars frame of mind, as opposed to, here I am in Tomorrowland, I can see Buzz Lightyear, I'm going to go in this building instead, and then you get 3PO and the whole pre-show kind of floor. But there's something special about World.
Agreed. Yeah. All right. Good. See, agreement. We're back.
Yay, we're back.
Back on the same page. All right. So, we were back on the same page with Buzz Lightyear, too.
That's true.
All right. So, next up, the Autopia versus Tomorrowland Speedway. Again, to me... No, it's Lauren, you're up first. I'm sorry. I was going to talk over you.
They're very... For being the same thing, they're not the same thing.
Yeah, right.
They have a very different feel. I love Autopia just because it is the original. It has that kind of quaint feel. It's a little more twisty, windy, I think. And I remember as a kid that being quite frustrating. And my mother was not super excited to be in a car with me driving. But it's those memories that you make. And I think when that's your first experience, and also the fact that it has the touch of the original, to me, that gives it the edge.
So I have the original, the video, the Disneyland, I think it's the Disneyland USA DVD. You know how the old ones, they come in the tins and you buy them and they have like it looks like an old school like album, but it's a DVD. It has the opening day, Disneyland's opening day on DVD. And it's the entire show that was broadcast that day. And I've watched it.
Oh, how neat.
I'm such a nerd. I've watched it probably 100 times. And there is Sammy Davis and Frank Sinatra and their kids driving the Autopia cars from opening day. And that's always been fun. So cool to me. If they take out the Speedway soon, which in Tomorrowland, in Magic Kingdom, which has been a rumor lately.
Really?
I won't be upset. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think Autopia has the nostalgia, has that kind of different kind of factor. And the Speedway, while it's been there forever, I don't know. It's just not something, it doesn't really fit Tomorrowland. It doesn't, I've heard rumors that, and the rumor is now that it's going to become the Tron Light Cycle attraction. They're going to take that out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's the rumor. And I'm not a Tron guy.
Honestly, me neither.
I've never sat through a Tron movie. I don't know much about them. I'm sorry for the listener.
But the attraction looks incredible.
Yeah, it looks awesome. So to me, I'm going to call it for Autopia only because I think it's a classic one. It's been there for 62 years. So that's where I'm going with.
I think the only thing that I appreciate about Speedway is not Speedway, but is the pathway that it creates. And, with the exception of the smoker circle where I have to like hold my breath as I walk through, I love doing that walk. I really like going behind and feeling, again, like you're kind of off the beaten path, but still in a park, and it still has that magic. So I like that. But if that goes so they can put in Tron, I am all for it.
You're cool. But Lauren, there's no shade on that path. If you're there in like the summer and you walk that way, it's like 1,000 degrees, no shade.
See, I'm smart about this. I don't go in the summer.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And
I don't need it for that.
And we try not to, but as my kids get older and they can't miss school as much, that's a bummer.
I know.
So when you have an infant through like 5, go like as much as you can. Because,
I will.
I mean, when you can't, that stinks. Because now I'm like, we're trying to plan a trip, and Amy's like, well, the kids can't miss school. I'm like, dude, it's first grade. And she's like, no, first grade's a big deal. And I guess it is. So we can't.
Foundational stuff, Phil. Come on.
I know you're in education. I get it. All right. Next up, the Astro Orbiters on both coasts. Is it me or is it you? I want to keep asking because I
think it's you.
All right, so I'm super interested in hearing your answer on this one, but I'll go first, obviously. So because of how high it goes and where it's set in Magic Kingdom, Walt Disney World's version is a clear-cut winner for me. Because I just don't like where Disneyland's version of the Astro Orbiter is set. I get that was put there in the latest remodel of Tomorrowland for them. For you guys out there, I just don't like that it's basically in the hub. So that's why I like the one in Disney World better. I don't know if you.
And I agree.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about ours is it's low. It's tiny. Oh my gosh! I think the last time I rode it, I was in high school because it was uncomfortable to ride it with anybody, and so I never go on it, but. It's kind of sheltered. Like, yes, it's towards the hub, and you'd think, okay, great, you're going to get some amazing vistas, but like it's kind of hemmed in by the entrance to Tomorrowland, and so it just feels kind of boring and not really all that awesome. So I love the going up in the elevator and getting to see things from such a high vantage point at Disney World. That's so much better.
And yeah, I mean, you get to see, I mean, the views that you get of Cinderella Castle up there are really, really awesome. So yeah, I
spectacular.
And if you ride it at night, it's even better.
Oh yeah.
Tomorrowland at night in Walt Disney World is just awesome. Like during the day, I know people, it's had its issues. It's kind of in between, like, I don't know where it's going. It's being obviously transitioned, but it's awesome at night. All right, so we're unanimous, the two of us on Astro is better in Walt Disney World. All right, so this is another one in the middle of we're when did we get over to Disneyland? Jeez, I'm like 4 or 5 into Disneyland. I didn't even realize we were there. I'm like, oh, we're in Disneyland now. Sleeping Beauty Castle versus Cinderella Castle is a tough call for me.
Oh,
I don't know.
man.
What do you think?
Oh, I am such a traitor. Well, am I? I don't know.
Was this one you didn't see coming because it's on an
yeah,
attraction?
this one is throwing me off.
Because technically there is an attraction in Disneyland. That's why I put it in there.
Yeah, no, there is. The very odd and kind of creepy Sleeping Beauty walkthrough. Did that recently. Don't recommend it. I would just avoid that entirely. I think, I am so in love with the mosaics at Cinderella Castle that I think I have to. It's not what everybody thinks it is, where it's so much bigger. In fact, I think that works to the fireworks disadvantage. I think fireworks look much more amazing in Disneyland because we have such a petite and dainty castle. But the Disney World castle, Cinderella's castle, is just so beautiful. And I never pass up an opportunity to walk through and look at those beautiful mosaics. It's just incredible. And it's amazing to me how many people don't look at them. So I'm always there. Like, that's my first stop when I get to Magic Kingdom. I love it. Well, after Starbucks, but I love it. And it is just so impressive. And with all the lighting that they do now and everything, I think it's Disney World.
It's the ultimate weenie, right? It's like 199 feet
high,
and it's so much like grander in size and scale than Sleeping Beauty Castle. Sleeping Beauty Castle's what, 70 something feet? Off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think you're right.
7 or 79 feet.
It's tiny.
I remember the first time going and turning that corner, being like, "Whoa!" Like, it's
what happened to the castle?
It's barely higher than the buildings on Main Street, but it makes it. To me, it makes it kind of cool. Like, you're not, for someone who grew up with Disney World, I wasn't, it was just neat to see it. But yeah, I kind of had to give the nod. I agree to Cinderella Castle. It is. And you know what, Lauren, I think my favorite fireworks show, to exactly what you said, is my favorite one I've ever seen was the Disneyland Forever fireworks show. That was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was
I gotta
phenomenal.
say, our Wishes, even, I felt like the first time I saw Wishes at Disney World, I was like, what is this? It sounds similar, but yeah, it's just such a different thing. And it can be so all encompassing, the way they shoot off the fireworks, especially if you're standing in the hub when they do them all around. Yeah. I mean, you just feel it transports you in a way that I don't think you can get when that castle is so big.
I agree. So wait, are we going? Did we agree to Disney World or Disneyland?
I think, I think we agreed castle alone, Disney World. Right. If we're putting fireworks as an attraction, then we're going land.
I agree. All right. This is going to be completely impossible to calculate. So at the end of this, I'm just going to say, I'll
Disney wins.
I'm going to look it up. I'm going to re-listen to this, and when I edit it to see if and I'll try to get a score. But
I love it.
Anyway,
I love it.
So on to the next one. Both parks have the Mad Tea Party attraction. And again, you were just talking, so I'm assuming it's your turn. I forget. Is it my turn? Or is it your turn?
No, I did Castle.
I am horrible. I cannot remember.
We're having a conversation. It's easy flow. It's all right.
All right. So, Mad Tea Party, again, spinning teacup ride in both parks. Never a line, which is great in both parks. You don't wait long. I think I like Disneyland's more, only because it's open air. And that's pretty much the reason why I like it better. It's kind of in the middle of Fantasyland. It's open air. You just have a much better view of everything else around you. And that's it's really the only reason I would give it to Disneyland over the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, see, I have another reason to give it to Land.
Interesting.
It's sitting right outside Alice.
That's a good point.
So the Alice in Wonderland ride is right there, and you can kind of hear some of it. Yeah. And I love that you can do the full Alice suite of attractions all at once, which to me I think is pretty special. Again, the original kind of feel of the park, and it's, the ride, the attraction itself is kind of campy, but that's okay. It really pays homage to one of those original, movies that was around really, I think, when the park opened. So, to me, that's another reason. Also, the open air. I mean, Florida with the canopy. Like, I understand shade, but oh boy, it gets stuffy in there.
It feels like almost like a carnival attraction in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like there's anything special about it. Like, you feel like you've ridden that at the high school carnival that comes to your town. Like,
totally.
I think. So, yeah, I think Disneyland definitely has a leg up on that one.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've noticed, too, excuse me, I'm like hiccuping, sorry, about, I'm not going to edit it out. It's for real. The The Disneyland version is the old school ticket booth that's still there right next to that attraction.
Mm-hmm.
I love that in general, that they're still there and they kind of make, theme them as other things all around the park. But, there's another one over at Storybook Land Canal Boats. I love that they have those still, and they're still there, and they're the original ticket booths where you would go and buy your, I'm looking at it right now. I have a booklet, the ABCDE tickets.
Tickets.
Yeah, you would buy all those tickets. I actually bought a full ticket book from like the 60s from Disneyland.
How cool.
That I have in my complete nerd collection in my office. But yeah, I think that it's cool that you could, that's still there. I love those little throwbacks to old school Disneyland in the park. It's very,
I didn't
cool.
realize that's what that was. I just assumed it was the operator booth, but wow, that's so cool.
Yeah. There's the old school booth in there, so that's very cool. All right, Lauren, here's another one. Again, I don't know if we're gonna be able to pick a winner here. King Arthur Carousel versus the Prince Charming Regal Carousel. Is it a wash again? Is there one that you like better than the other on these two?
I don't know that this is true, and so if it's Disney lore that has just been made fact because I've heard it multiple times. I've heard that Lillian had a favorite horse on the King Arthur Carousel, and I've seen the picture, and I think I've actually ridden it. But to me, a carousel is a carousel, right. But the beauty of these carousels is the fact that they feel turn of the century. I mean, they feel very much like these vintage pieces in the middle of the parks. Yeah, so I think the connection to Lillian is the reason I would give it to King Arthur. But the one in Disney World came down from like New Jersey or Philadelphia, didn't it?
Yeah, 1917 it was built. This is off the top of my head, so I might be wrong, but built by the...
You've been right every other time. I don't know why you think you're wrong here.
So it was built by the Philadelphia Toboggan Company in 1917, I believe, which makes it technically the oldest attraction in Magic Kingdom at 100 years old. And it was in a couple different parks. I believe it was in one in Jersey, and then one in, I think it was in Detroit when Walt Disney World purchased it and completely, started stripping it down and realized there was all this awesome, artistry underneath all these layers of paint that were there on the horses over the years. But yeah, that technically is the oldest attraction in Walt Disney World. Now, again, my knowledge of Disneyland is a little less, so I don't know what year that one was built. I'm not sure if that was built for the park. I don't think it was.
I think it was. I think it was an acquisition.
Yeah. And again, that was, famously Walt Disney's sat on the bench at Griffith Park and watched the carousel and had the idea for Disneyland. Yeah. But crazily enough, I didn't realize that he had done sketches for Disneyland. Get this, Lauren, I just read this in a book. In 1932.
What?
His original Mickey Mouse Park sketches, they found he drew in 1932.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Like years before he had kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought that was really cool. I read that in one of the Disney biographies I just bought because I'm a crazy person. I have like 10 of them. But
you can never have too many.
No, you gotta read all of them. Anyway, all right. So one thing that I wanted to mention, I didn't know this is gonna be a long podcast, and I'm okay with that. Because I'm you and I are both complete Disney nerds, and we're gonna just once you get rolling, it's just that's the way it goes.
Oh yeah.
But the one thing that I love, and I've loved ever since I was a kid, was that view of either Cinderella Castle or Sleeping Beauty Castle at night with the lights off, the soft, like, pink light of Sleeping Beauty Castle or the blue of Cinderella Castle being the only light with the fully illuminated carousel you could see in the walk, and the other end of the walkway, the other side of the castle, spinning. That, when I was a kid, that was like the thing for me. That was what Disney World was in my head, or what Disneyland was. So, for some reason, the carousels have always been kind of stuck in my head. Like, you know what I mean? Like that
absolutely
that image of it.
Well, and I'll tell you, at Disney, the Disneyland run Disney races, because you start right outside when you are running in, if it's before daylight savings time and you're running in and it's dark, it brings me to tears running down Main Street and seeing that.
I've never done a Disneyland race. I have to do one.
My first half back after having a baby is going to be in May next year. We're doing Tink, so you should come out and do it.
I really should. All right, I got to talk to Amy. Okay.
Alrighty.
We're going to have a long conversation.
Permission.
Yeah, we're going to have a long conversation on a plane.
We can have a whole Run Disney comparison. That if we want to talk about that as an attraction. That's another show.
All right, so the next one, and again, 2 attractions that are not the same name, but are very, very similar. So we're going out in Disneyland. We're looking at Gadget's Go Coaster in Toontown versus the Barnstormer. I couldn't say it right. The Barnstormer, starring the great Goofini in what the heck is it called now? Storybook Circus in Walt Disney World, the Magic Kingdom. What I think, did I ask you this one?
This is you.
Yeah. Lauren, I'm horrible. I'm sorry. So,
no, it's all right. I'm keeping track.
So
you're leading the show. A lot to take care of.
It's a good point. It's a really hard, it's a really difficult job that I have. So, dude, I have to be completely honest with you. I don't have a favorite of the 2. I went on Gadget's Go Coaster, went on my first trip on our honeymoon, with mine and Amy's honeymoon in 2008. I haven't been on it since. I know I'll be riding it next week with my kids, so I think I'll have a better idea next week. We love the Barnstormer. We ride it, because I still have 2 4-year-olds, right? So they can ride. They've ridden Splash Mountain and Thunder Mountain, but they like the Barnstormer because it's calm and it's just thrilling enough for them, and they kind of enjoy it. So I don't have a pick here, so I'm going to kind of leave it up to you.
I think I'd go with Barnstormer. I think the ride's a little bit longer if memory is serving. I mean, obviously I've not sat there and clocked it. I also love that the feeling of going through the billboard.
Yeah.
I don't know, as an adult on that ride, I shrink down every time. Again, I'm not tall. I'm not going to hit anything, but I don't know. There's just that, and that feeling of it right over your head. And I just love that the kids that I usually ride with love it so much. And it's just such a fun thing to do with them. Go Coaster, I think might be a little more thrilling. It might be faster, but I also think the ride is over faster. So to me, my money's on Barnstormer.
Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. I just, at the last second, as you were saying that, I thought of, does anyone know who Gadget is anymore? I don't know if there are any kids. When I say kids, I mean under the age of 20 who have any idea who Gadget actually was or is. Do you know who Gadget was
I mean, we're not talking about Inspector Gadget, right?
No.
Okay. So no. See?
So
I don't know.
You don't know.
I thought it was Chip and Dale was that they're the ones who run it.
So that's very, very close. So Gadget was the female chipmunk character on Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers. The show in the 90s. She was the mechanic for their airplane or whatever it was. So that's it's funny that there was Chip, Dale, Gadget, and Monterey Jack was the other chipmunk or mouse. I think he was voiced by Jim Cummings. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, so then that's who Gadget was. So a lot of people don't know who that is. Obviously, I said under 20. So you're what? You're 30?
Yeah.
So anyone under 30 may not know. 30 and under may not know who Gadget is.
To be fair, I didn't watch Chip and Dale, but I bet my husband would know that one.
Yeah. See,
he sings the theme song occasionally.
Yeah. That's a good song too.
It is.
All right. So on to the next one. This one, Dumbo the Flying Elephant, in the Magic Kingdom, where it was moved to Storybook Circus, or Disneyland is the original classic kind of Dumbo. And I don't know who it is, so if it's me, tell me if it's you. I can't
I
keep
think
track.
it's me this time.
All right, so now I'm going to remember that I have the next
But
one.
I'm going to need to throw it over to you because I've never been in Storybook Circus.
All right, so you've been in Storybook Circus, or you've never been on the attraction?
I've never been on the attraction.
So, okay, here's the reason, the quick reason why it's better in Magic Kingdom. When they revamped it, when they put it, added a second Dumbo, so now you have the dueling Dumbos, and you have the indoor queue, they also put the water effects in, and the nighttime lighting like Disneyland has had for a while.
Yeah.
Which I loved when I first saw Disneyland's version. I was like, why can't they do this in Magic Kingdom? And now they have, but they have two of them, and you don't have to wait outside, which is awesome. As a parent with little kids who love riding that attraction, which I still can't figure out what the draw is with it. Excuse me. Because
you get to go around in circles.
Exactly right. So, but now for those that don't know, you get in line, and it's indoors, it's air conditioned. Inside, it's a huge playground. They give you a pager. Say they'll tell you the wait time is 20 minutes. They'll give you a pager. They'll buzz you in 20 minutes, and then you go get in a much shorter line outside to ride one of the two Dumbos. You can sit, you can recharge, you can actually charge your phone, which is cool, and your kids can burn off some energy running around the playground. It's awesome. So the attraction, obviously very, very, very similar, meaning it's the exact same darn thing. But there's two of them in Walt Disney World, so you have a much higher capacity, and you don't have to wait outside in the sun with no shade like you used to. So to me, that's why it's better. That's simple as that.
And I think for that one, simple works.
Right.
Good reasons all around.
Yeah, I mean, really, like for parents that don't have to sit, you used to go through the, at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, run through Cinderella Castle and then stand on the blacktop waiting, in the sun in Florida, waiting to ride an attraction where you drove around, flew around in a circle in the sun. Like there was no shade, there was nowhere to go. Oof. Now it's inside, it's air conditioned, it's awesome. My kids are like, let's ride Dumbo. I'm like, all day, guys, let's go. You want to ride Dumbo all day? I'm in. Let's do it. Dad
has no qualms with this choice.
The only issue is I cannot get a beer to bring into the tent. If I could get, my Florida, what is it called? The Highlight IPA. I forget the name of the brewery.
Yeah, Cigar
beer.
City.
Yes, Cigar City. Yeah. Lauren is, if you haven't heard, is also a home brewer, craft brewer. How do you say it?
Home brewer, yeah.
Home brewer. So, yeah. Lauren, you were awesome that you knew that was. All right.
That beer is, I seek it out every time I'm down there.
Beer. They have it in California, too. I've had it out there.
Do they?
Yeah.
That's a newer, the way they this is a total side conversation, but the way that they organize their stuff, they're now brewing with like the Oscar Blues and another company. They've like created a consortium basically. So their distribution is insane now. And I just haven't seen it because, I'm not really looking for beers right now.
These days, no, you're not exactly able to partake in
no, unfortunately.
Craft beer scene. All right. So next one. Peter Pan's flight in both, obviously both parks. Kind of a toss up for me.
Really?
Yeah. I all right. Before you get judgy.
No, I'm just surprised because to me they're so different.
So yeah. Basically, they are different. I don't know if you're gonna completely you'll not be able to stand me for this. I go Magic Kingdom over the original Disneyland version.
Wow.
I know, and I'm a Disney purist at heart. But the reason I do this is because I've been going to Magic Kingdom for years, and and many more times, and I've waited outside in that queue in the heat in the summer forever, and they finally bulldozed those bathrooms that were there, and they put the interactive queue in for Peter Pan's flight, and I think that kind of sways me a bit because I love what they've done with the interactive queue. I think it's awesome. I think it tells the story of the attraction before you even get on the attraction. It kind of, you know what I mean? It kind of butters you up before you get on. So, and I know the Disneyland version has more touches and it is better. And I like I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there's the moon on over London in the Disneyland version is like there's like an effect where it spins and it's this really cool. Am I crazy? There's like,
I think that's Disney World.
Then I'm wrong. Okay. So
where they have the silhouettes
so
of them flying.
So basically, I like everything about this, everything better about Disney World's version. But no, I think maybe it's because I've been on it more, and the Disneyland version I've ridden every time I've been out there. But to me, I'm going the Magic Kingdom version.
So I love the queue. The queue is awesome. I've now stopped getting fast passes to ride because to me, in Disney World, the attraction is the queue. But I have real beef with the final scene. Not Captain Hook, but the boat. In ours, Tinkerbell sprinkles pixie dust, and it like lights things up. You guys don't have that. And every time I see it, I go, oh, I'm so sad. Also, everyone seems a little too neon and like backlit on the ship. So the figures, the faces, like the characters don't look quite right to me in World. So if we could have the queue from World and the attraction from Land and put those two together, that would be ideal to me. But at the end of the day, to me, there's something about waiting in that line because it's the longest line in Fantasyland. Waiting in the line for Peter Pan, like you really have to want it if you're going to go on it.
That's true.
And there's also something about, this is so weird, but that queue has like, it's like the split timber design, like the architecture. And there's something about the rough hewn wood in that line that as a kid, I remember like playing with it and like holding it. So there's something about waiting in that line that takes me back to like, I'm bored, but it's going to so be worth it once we get inside. So I have to go with Land.
So you have not only logical reasons, but also completely illogical reasons for liking that one better.
Completely. Yeah. Yeah.
Right,
so I say I win because I have both sides.
I agree. Listen, I can't argue. I can't argue that at all.
Can't argue crazy.
No, and especially with you being pregnant, I don't want you to end the podcast right now. So I'm going to say you got it. All right. Next one is It's a Small World, and dude, there's no argument for me on this one at all.
Yeah, no.
Disneyland's version by a landslide is better.
Even with the changes they've made, like I don't particularly want Disney characters in there, but they made it work.
Yeah, they fit pretty well. Where if you now, I wonder if you hadn't ridden in years and you didn't know they were there, would you even notice them? You might not. Like they're very well, like kind of concealed into the attraction. They feel very much like the Mary Blair. No, they feel like the Mary Blair figures should. I think they did a great job. And for those that don't know, for those who are, I know most of my listeners are big Disney World people. They have, and they've themed it really well. Like, so in the Polynesian room in Small World, they have Lilo and Stitch. And then in the, is it the Western American West, whatever, they have Woody and Bullseye. And
they're so dramatically different in terms of design, but they work. Where like Lilo and Stitch look like the original characters, especially the Woody scene, it's like totally stylized, but it's still very Mary Blair and totally fits.
Yeah, the color is what's funny. I that's what stands out to me when I think about it, is how different that Woody character looks. That if he wasn't dressed in those colors, you kind of never pick him out as being Woody. But because he has the color, you do. Yeah, Yeah, I think it's, and again, like, dude, let's talk about the facade alone.
Oh my gosh.
I remember not knowing a ton about Disneyland when I went the first time. I purposely didn't read a lot because I wasn't, I had read the Walt Disney biographies and but I didn't want to get the guidebook and look through and see what I was going to expect. And I remember walking up to that and being like, wow, like, whoa, like this is a big deal, this attraction out here. Where in Magic Kingdom, it's kind of under a roof and a what word am I looking for? The
kind of like a tent, like
pavilion, a tent, right? Or the awning. That's what I was trying to think of. Like, the candy striped awning, and it's. I know it's not candy striped anymore, but I'm looking at I'm thinking of the classic 70s pictures of it. And they do have the Mary Blair clock in the queue, and it's very kind of small and subdued. But the one in Disneyland is this huge, like grand, like clock, and I love the story of that Walt, like Mary Blair was pretty much tapped out on designing it, and they brought it. She did the whole thing for the 64, 65 World's Fair, and they were bringing it back to Disneyland, and Rolly Crump was in charge. Disney legend, famous Imagineer, was in charge of bringing it back to Disneyland. It was like his baby. And he called Mary Blair and said, or I think it was Mark Davis came up with the original idea for the exterior, and it was Walt's idea to bring in Mary Blair to get the exterior done. And she came up with this whole idea, and she gave it to Walt, and he didn't like it at all. And I don't think he was rude about it, but I know she was on the next flight out of California because she didn't want to deal with it anymore. And Rolly Crump was the one who actually designed the exterior of Small World. He said, "Listen, I know her style. I know exactly what she would do. I'll build it." So that exterior, the almost exactly how it looks today, was a sketch that he came up with.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, where the clock is out in front? There was, basically a platform there. And he presented his model to Walt with no clock. And Walt said, "All right, well, there's a spot here. What are we going to do with it?" And he said, "I don't know. Walt, maybe we'll have a band. We'll put a band out there." And Walt said, "Are you kidding me? You can't put a band out there. Like that's, how much money that's going to cost me every day? We can't have a live band there." So he said, "I don't know, maybe a clock." And Walt was like, "Perfect. Yeah, put a clock there." And that night, Rolly Crump went back to his office and called Mary Blair and said, "Listen, I need this clock. You need to design it." And she drew it on the back of a napkin and sent it to him. And that's what they went with. And It's very, very cool. And Rolly Crump still has that framed in his office in California, which, by the way, is about a mile from where you live.
Really?
I'm not going to tell anybody where you live. But yeah, he lives like.
But they could backtrack it now.
He lives in your neighborhood.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so nobody knows where he lives. But I found out when I was talking to him last year that he's like in your area.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so I think. Sorry, long story longer. That is why I like Small World better. Sorry.
No, I mean, the exterior, and I think the thing that always gets me, that plaza is such a big open space. And unlike Disney World, we really don't have big open spaces because everything's so compact. I mean, it's a smaller footprint for sure. And they tried to cram a lot in. But across that open plaza that's cement, they project the tick-tock of the clock and you can hear it. Like, it's incredible. Like, you can't not look at it. And I just love, there's something about our version out here at Disneyland that it feels bigger, even though, and it might be, I don't know the actual measurements, but it just feels more grand. Like, I don't know if that's the right word, but also it has that touchstone of history. And I think that's kind of its where it stands out. I would say.
Yeah.
It's Call to Me for sure.
It's like Moana.
Same song. You're gonna get the same song stuck in your head. So if you choose to go.
When you said It Calls to Me, and all I thought about was Moana. Now I want to
Yes.
sing the Moana song.
Well, Phil, you've got a microphone.
I have sung on the show in the past. I will not right now. But yeah, no, I agree completely. All right, moving on to try to save us a little bit of time. Okay, so Mark Twain Riverboat versus Liberty Square Riverboat. I don't know. I want to I don't know if it's my turn, but I want to just quickly give my idea on this one. I don't think we can answer this one until the Rivers of America is back basically up and running in Disneyland, because it's been down for so long.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But I'm really excited to see what they do with it. The concept art looks so interesting. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of excited to see I know what Walt Disney World is, right? And I love it. And I think it's one that gets skip, and it's really too bad. Because I think it's something that it's a throwback, and it's something that you get pictures of the park, of certain parts of the park that you would never get on both versions, on the Mark Twain and on Liberty Square, that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Of pictures of Thunder Mountain or pictures of Haunted Mansion, and I just think it's a cool kind of throwback to Walt attraction in both parks.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you're right. I mean, I'd say it's a wash from before, but it's going to be completely different, and it'll be interesting to see how they do this, because story is important, and it's going to be interesting to see how they weave it in. The placement of Star Wars out here just still boggles my mind. I'm sure they're going to do a great job with transition and everything, but I just go, I'll see it when it's done, and until then, I'm not even thinking about it. But the train trestle looks awesome.
That's the part that I'm so excited about. Yeah,
such a fan of the train. So that's definitely something I'm very excited to see from the water.
So yeah, we sound like such nerds, but yes,
we are.
I know, it's true. And I'm embracing it, because it's Lauren. I'm sitting here in my Indiana Jones T-shirt, so
I love
it. I have my Jones Whip Company established 1936 T-shirt on. So yeah,
so amazing.
There's no hiding it. All right,
I think I need that shirt.
It is a cool shirt. So okay, so next one up, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Lauren, I don't know if it's your turn again. People are going to be listening and be like, dude, why can't you keep track?
We're busy here. We're nerding out.
Yeah, you go ahead. You're up.
I like ours. I like Disneyland. There are three reasons. The vehicle, you're riding in a honeycomb or a beehive. It's really cool. The story, I think, gets told a little better here. Which, to be honest, is not our strength. Which we'll talk about in a little bit with another ride. But I like the way that the story is told here, and our the heads from Country Bear Jamboree still live inside of ours, which is my favorite little thing to point to and show people when we're on it. So. I think for those three reasons, I love Country Bear. I wish I don't wish we still had it, because I don't think I would appreciate it if I didn't have to seek it out when I was in Florida. So, I just really love ours, and I think it fits perfectly back by Splash. So I think for all those reasons, I'm a big fan of ours.
So I'm going to cough, so I'm going to edit this out. Hold on a second. I just hit mute, but I did cough. So I am going to disagree with you. I know, horrible.
Scandal.
I'm going with Magic Kingdom's only, again, and this is probably me having kids, the extent, the queue, the interactive queue, which Amy and I call the flu queue. because you cannot go through that without catching some kind of disease. Because
those screens, I always wonder how often they clean them.
Never. The answer is never. And
they're a little sticky.
Yeah, and the bees that go through the honey pots, and there's a million kids touching them every hour. There's no, like, every time we leave Magic Kingdom.
I'm sorry, and this is why you're choosing it?
No, it's fun. Yes, yeah, it is actually, but that's fun. And the other thing is, I think the movement on the attraction is a little better. When you go through Tigger's room and you bounce, I think it's a better experience. And those, I know that it's just one scene that I'm calling out, but I think it makes the attraction better. But that being said, I love the outdoor load area and unload area, which is something they can't really do in Walt Disney World. Same thing as Small World, which we were just talking about. Because of the rain, you can't really do it in Walt Disney World, but Disneyland you can. And getting on that attraction outside is just cool. Like, you can't, it's just, in Disney World, everything's covered. Everything. So,
has to be.
Yeah. So it's really neat. Like, even like the load and unload stations for the roller coasters in Walt Disney World are covered. Like, they're in little rooms, and you don't even notice it until you start thinking about it. And you're like, oh yeah, that's right. They're all inside. But yeah, I think we're going to have to call this a split, because I think, and I do love the three heads from Country Bear in the attraction. I love that too. And just a nerd like you are, I like to point it out to people, but yeah, I'm a Disney World fan of that one. So I wonder.
Agree to disagree, sir.
Exactly. Now, you know what? I don't think you're going to disagree with me on the next one, though. Splash Mountain, I think you will agree with. Well, I'll let you go first, and then you tell me what you think.
Okay, so for forever, I would say that Disney World was my favorite. I think. So, here's why. I think it tells the story better. So go with me here.
No, I agree. So far.
But the way that they get there is by putting less into the attraction. So something I hadn't noticed until, I've gone back to Disney World quite a bit this past year and a half, and comparing side by side, within a short period of time, there's a lot of dead space in the splash out at Disney World. But what that does is it directs your attention. So you can follow the story of Brer Rabbit, and you can really understand what's going on. His story is still being told in Disneyland, but the space is so open and there's so much going on that sometimes I think it gets a little bit hidden. If you didn't know it already, you might not piece it together, especially kids going on it for the first couple times. You might not really understand why you're being thrown into the Briar Patch. So for that reason, I always love Disney World. But again, going back and forth and seeing it as an adult and already knowing the story, I think I'm a bigger fan of Disneyland. And the surprise here for me is that land, kind of going back to our conversation about space, you're sitting not side by side. So you don't have that ability to have that shared experience. You're kind of on your own on this adventure, which is terrifying when you're a kid and if it's your first time going on it. But at the same time, I think the overwhelming scale of everything. I also really love our laughing place. I think all of that kind of goes to giving land the slight edge, but it's so marginal. It's so marginal. These two, I have a really hard time saying I like Disneyland's more, because I do really appreciate the storytelling of Disney World.
That's funny. I have to disagree. I get what you're saying. I think the reason I like Walt Disney Worlds more is the lead up, and this is, again, it's kind of a cop out, but I like the queue. I think the queue builds the story a bit before you get on.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think it tells a more complete story than the Disneyland version. So for me,
definitely. I'm not arguing on that front.
And you
absolutely.
I think you mentioned earlier, you said Disney World does a better job of telling the complete story. And again, they have more room, right? So they have the ability to tell the complete story. So yeah, again, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. I think that Splash Mountain's better in Magic Kingdom, but I think it's really cool that Disneyland has the America Sings characters in that attraction. I always thought that was a cool thing that they recycle the animatronics. So that was very neat that they did that.
I'm unfamiliar with this. What do you mean the America Sings animatronic?
So when America Sings was closing, one of the things that Tony Baxter was trying to figure out was, okay, we need to replace America Sings, but we have, dozens, if not more, of these audio animatronic animals that we have to figure out what the heck to do with. So instead of getting rid of them, they recycled them and put them into Splash. So that's why the animals in Splash look different than the ones at Magic Kingdom, because they recycled the America Sings characters.
That I think might be one of the reasons that I like it, because it feels like that's interesting, because I didn't know that. But I like the diversity. Like, it feels like you're part of it. I mean, in a community, everybody's different, So I think that's one of the things that, having been back and forth more recently, that's interesting. Okay. Things are like falling into place in my head all of a sudden, because like I said, for the longest time, World was my Splash. Like, that was the one that I liked more. Huh.
See, so it pays off to have somebody who is a little bit bigger of a Disney nerd than you are.
Yeah. See, I'm learning stuff. I love it.
I hope this doesn't come off as pompous. This isn't coming off as
no.
pompous, right?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? I love it. Yeah, I love learning all this.
When I tell people like stuff like this in a park, I'm always like, oh man, this person's going to hate me. All right.
We have many a meal to share in next week. So I look forward to many more stories. Oh
yeah, you'll be saying that after. You will not. You and Amy will be walking ahead of me being like, God, is he still there? All right. So next one. Big Thunder Mountain. Again, I don't know if it's your turn, Lauren, but you're going first. What do you got?
Oh my gosh. Since they've plus stars, I really like our attraction. Obviously, I wasn't able to ride it. Have they done the Dynamite, the new Dynamite?
No.
Okay.
I was so disappointed.
Yeah. World's queue is awesome. That is so fun to walk through. This is kind of an emotional thing. It was my very first big girl roller coaster. We were at the exit at 10 o'clock at night, and I turned to my dad, and it was our last day, and I was like, I didn't do Big Thunder, because I had been chickening out the whole time. Okay. He's like, do you really want to do it? We walked all the way back. So my first ride on Big Thunder was at night. It was totally amazing. So already, Big Thunder at Disneyland kind of has my heart. But now that they've plussed it, I think objectively, it is a more interesting visual experience. So I really love what they did for the 60th, and those new visual effects are just incredible. I'm so glad they did it, and I'm usually kind of leery of changing attractions, hence where we started with the Lady in Red. But I think it really works well, and I think it just adds so much, and to me that makes it the better one. Yeah,
I can't disagree at all. I think the effects that they added, it doesn't. What's cool is it doesn't take away from what was there before. It just, like you said, like the Walt words pluses it. It makes it so much better than it was before. It really does. And I love it at night. In both parks it's great at night, but
absolutely,
I think at night in Disneyland, it has a little bit of a kind of a special feel to it. And I like this section. I like the area where it is in Disneyland. I don't know if this will be the same with the construction that they've had for Star Wars Land. Do you know that like across the way from it is the old tunnel from the mine train to or through Nature's Wonderland? That used to be there. It looks like it's just an old set piece with a railroad track.
Yeah.
But it actually was the old mine train through Nature's Wonderland track that actually used to go through there. So I love that that's right next to it. It kind of, you know, is a flashback to old school Disneyland. I love that. And I love that
Absolutely.
that was actually an attraction that you're looking at. It's not just a piece of, you know, that Imagineers threw in there. So I love that whole area. I love that. I think you're dead on with that pick. I think it is. And I love Walt Disney World's version, but it's kind of just it's a dead end. It's in, you know, I don't know. I love it. I love that it's right next to Splash. I think it's cool. But yeah, I think Disneyland's version definitely has the edge.
I think you're right too about the placement, like the location. We'll see what happens with the brand new Star Wars, but it's so cool to like have that be part of the transition to Fantasyland.
Yeah,
I haven't yet been. Yeah. I haven't yet been. I know they reopened the trail, so I'm excited to go and check that out with you next week because I think there's so much they can do now with all that. Yeah. And I know they're being really careful with it and they're going to do it right. So it'll just be interesting to see how it maybe shifts or changes the flow. We'll see.
Agreed. So, okay, we have a few more to get to. So, and this is going to be probably my longest podcast that I've recorded, but I'm not going to break it up because I think this all has to go in one episode because there's so much. There really is so much to talk about. So I think this is really cool. So,
and I think for people who know one park or the other, it's really helpful to have like, what are the differences? Let me know like what I need to actually go and see and what I can skip. Maybe.
Agreed. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's why this will be such a helpful episode for people who are taking the first trip to either one for the their first time. And I think you're exactly right. All right, so here's a big one. Next one. Haunted Mansion. Oh, I know. It's like picking. It's the Sophie's Choice of Disneyland or Walt Disney World. And
it really is.
It is.
Like this one hurts.
So you have to pick. So Lauren, go. What do you
No, wait. I went first last time. You go first.
God, you're paying attention.
I know. Sorry.
So, all right. So I'm just gonna come out and say it. I like Walt Disney World's better. I like it better, and it's a tough call for me because I consider myself a very, very amateur kind of Disney historian, and I love the history of Disney and Walt Disney and all that stuff. The reason I like it better overall, there's a couple reasons. One, I think I like the exterior of the building better. I like that it's not this pristine kind of Southern mansion, but I also love that about the Disneyland version. So I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth. But I do think I like the building better. I like the interactive queue that they've added. I think I'm a bigger fan of the one in Magic Kingdom. I think the attraction starts kind of from walking through Liberty Square. You see it in the distance. You see the hearse. You see the covered queue. You see the extended queue. The interactive elements, all that. That is kind of why I like it more. Of course, there are reasons why I like the Disneyland version more too, but they didn't outweigh the reasons I like the Disney World version more. So that's kind of like the Hatbox Ghost by itself, that effect. It made me almost pick the Disneyland version, but it wasn't enough. That's just kind of, how I feel.
So I'm really sad that I'm going to have to agree with you.
Now
like,
but
I'm not going to agree with you all the time. I'm going to agree with you from about January 15th to about October 1st. I adore the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay.
You and I think we will fight about that forever. I don't understand.
You don't like it?
I do not understand Nightmare Before Christmas, even a little bit.
What? Oh, Jack. Jack is amazing.
Jack is not my scene.
And the funny thing is, I was going to say, Hatbox actually probably is the reason that I'm going with Disney World because I don't think he fits. He's, again, I know I said this in Peter Pan, but like at he's like super neon, and I don't think that fits the aesthetic. So yeah, I love the Escher illusion too. Like I remember as a kid, that was just like, pardon the pun, dead space. And I was always like, what is going on in this? Like they had nothing to put here. And then they did that. And I got to go back years later and it was like, oh, this is a totally different ride because of this element. So I really, and I love the exterior. I mean, I love the exterior of ours too. I mean, and it really does fit too with the theming of New Orleans Square and everything. It's a perfect match. The Haunted Mansion in Florida too, when you can get there, I just did this. It's the first time it's ever happened to me. Torrential downpour, lightning everywhere. Florida, right? It was happening as we were walking up, and we didn't need any of the special effects to set the stage for us. We were already like there in our minds. So when you can get all of that, it really does kind of add to the attraction.
Wait, it rains in Florida? I didn't even know it rained in Florida.
Occasionally. Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. So
the one thing I love about getting out there to Disneyland is the weather. It's unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
Even when it's 95 degrees, it feels like it's 75 degrees out there. It's crazy.
We are very spoiled.
It really does. All right, so amazingly, I did not think we would agree on that one. So
I didn't think so either.
All right, so this one, I think this is we're getting down to the end here. We have a few more, but this one I don't know why I saved for this long. It's just on my list, kind of high up on the list, and it's Tarzan's treehouse versus the Swiss Family Robinson treehouse. And to me, it's a very clear cut winner. I don't know what you think. I think. Wait, is it your turn?
Nope.
This is such a ridiculous.
Oh yes, it is. It is.
Yeah. Oh yes, I finally got one right.
This one's easy for me. I love Swiss Family Robinson. It has to be.
Yep.
Has to be. I just wish we still had it.
I you know what's funny is I never got to the one in Disneyland when it was Swiss Family.
Oh yeah.
I walked through the Tarzan one a bunch of times and I'm like, eh. Like I really that's my feeling on it. It's eh.
That change happened, I think I was in high school, might have been a little younger. And I know that I wasn't super into Disney history at that point, but I remember feeling that one and being like, oh, this is a mistake. But then I met Tarzan at the bottom of the tree when I was a teenager, and I changed my mind for a few minutes.
You and Amy both, man.
He told me my eyes were like the ocean. I was pretty excited about that.
Yeah, the Tarzan walk around character is
ridiculous.
I think Alexa, who was like 5 when she met him, we walked away and she looked at Amy and she goes, Mom. And Amy said, what? And she said, he was dreamy.
Oh.
She was 5. So yeah.
She was right.
Yeah, the Tarzan guy he's always a handsome guy with no shirt on. So that's always fun.
I know. Great.
I always whenever my kids or Amy are in line to meet him, I'm always like kind of standing up straight and kind of stretching out when I walk up to him.
Yeah.
But I love is the way he enters, like when he comes on stage, he's like on his knuckles when he comes out. So
yeah,
it's an amazing job they do with that stuff.
Absolutely.
I mean, with Tarzan, of course, he's Tarzan. He came from the tree.
Exactly.
But Swiss Family Treehouse, there's not a whole lot of going on in the Tarzan treehouse. Once you walk through it once, I think you're kind of, I don't know. I don't feel like you have to do it again. I agree that if I think you would get a lot more people walking through it in Disneyland if it was Swiss Family still. It's just that there's like a story behind that one. The Tarzan one, there's really no, I mean, what, his parents died in a tree? Like, that's not a great story. Like, it's not a good one to tell. So
yeah, it's really kind of the story they tell when you look at the portraits and stuff. Like, and I can't even tell you the last time I walked through it. And I go to Swiss Family Robinson every time I'm in Florida without fail. 20 weeks pregnant and hotter than heck, and I was still hoofing it up there. I had to stop a couple of times, but I was like, I'm going through this.
You're like snapping your fingers, asking for somebody to throw a bottle of water up.
I know. Somebody, anybody, help.
It's like a baseball game. The guy cast member just throws it up. You catch it.
Yeah. Where's the escalator?
Yeah, right. All right. So, yeah, I knew that one would be unanimous. Okay.
Definitely.
Again, 2 different attractions, 2 different parks, but I think we'll have the same answer again. The only reason I added these 2 is because it's the same track and the same ride system. And it's Indiana Jones, Temple of the Forbidden Eye versus Dinosaur. I think we're unanimous here, right?
Animal Kingdom, yeah. No, Indy for sure. Yeah, it's Indy.
I mean, I'm wearing an Indiana Jones shirt. I know.
I
don't own a dinosaur shirt.
I posted a picture of a snake today because I ran across one when I was going for a walk. And the hashtag is Reggie, so you know that we're on the same page with this.
We're complete nerds, but it's in a good way because the attraction's phenomenal. And if you've ridden Dinosaur and you're like, oh, okay, I've done it. No, you have not.
No.
There is so much dead black space on Dinosaur. And don't get me wrong, I love Dinosaur. I think it's a great attraction. I loved it a lot more before I rode Indiana Jones. And then when I rode that, I was like, this is the same track? Like, what did they do wrong here? I mean, that room, when you go into that room, with, the grand and the big reveal with the fire and the car down below you going over the bridge, and it's just an amazing, like, holy cow. It's awesome. Like, and I'm a big Indiana Jones fan. The music, like, when you're going through the one room and I'm going to try to, it's like, and then you hear the darts like kind of flying over your head, and you feel the wind, and oh man, like that's the closest you'll ever get to being Indiana Jones. Like,
well, see, Phil, now people don't even have to ride because I feel like they just got the experience. No, but I love that it's such a mix of like, it's like in gags for people who love the movies. Like there's so much of that. The queue, like the USS Coronados is out there, like and Club Obi-Wan, it's just,
so
there's
cool.
So many things that tie in. It actually, I don't know if this is true, but it's the first interactive queue I remember.
Yep, I think it's the first one.
Is it? Yeah, because
I
remember that being like, where you can pull the pole and the spikes start coming down and stuff. Yeah. Like there's so much about that's so special. And to be honest, I haven't been on Dinosaur since I found out that it's the same track. So I can't speak to like complete differences there, but I do know that the suspense and the tie-ins and everything in Indy, I mean, oh, it's amazing. And Sala doing the video is just incredible.
Which I had no idea that was not his voice.
It's not?
No, it sounded like it's a character guy.
That's an amazing sound-alike.
You know how I found out was at D23 2 years ago. I went to the Voices of the Disney Parks panel.
Oh.
And the guy who does Sala was there, and he was doing the voice. And it wasn't, what's his name? Something Reese?
Jonathan Rhys Davies.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
Davies?
Whoever it was, he wasn't there. So, yeah, I found that out. So, anyway. But, yeah. So
wow.
That is by far the better attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, next up on the list, got a couple more left. Jungle Cruise. I think I'm going first. Yeah, I'm going to go first anyway. Even if not. So, all right. So the original attraction is in Disneyland. I'm going to give the slight edge, though, to Magic Kingdom. only because some of it was taken out in Disneyland for Indiana Jones, right? I mean, I think, is it the temple scene that's not in the Disneyland version any longer?
Yeah, I don't know that it was to begin with, though.
Okay, it never was. Okay.
Because it would be on the opposite side.
Okay.
I don't ever recall it, but again, I was doing Disney World during years I would probably remember something like that.
So I should have researched my answer, but my my answer is
no, you're good.
that is why I like the one better, and that one in Walt Disney World better. And I know, again, Disneyland is the original, and it was Walt's idea, and he wanted live animals and all that stuff. But one thing I do love about the Disneyland version is, and you don't realize how compact Disneyland is until you're walking to the turnstiles at Disneyland, and you can hear the gun from Jungle Cruise going off because it's literally like right behind the Emporium, like it's right there. Like there's no parking lot back there. There's no huge area. No. It's on top of Main Street, and you would never know it except they still have the gun. Because they got rid of the guns in Magic Kingdom, but Disneyland still has them, so it's kind of cool.
Good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right.
Yeah, we're taking out all the original stuff that people get offended by, unfortunately.
Yeah,
which we're getting to in a minute.
On opposite coasts.
Yeah. It's weird, but I like that they left it in Disneyland, and they still have the gun. So, what do you think? What's your call on that one?
The temple, I've not yet had a skipper who really rocked that temple. I think the Jingle Cruise, there were some great jokes.
That says that.
Rocked the temple. I rocked the temple.
Who rocks the temple?
I also really like that we have a rhino, because then you get the joke about getting the point across in the end, as opposed to hyenas. But the temple, you could do cool things with it. I just haven't yet had a skipper who did.
I agree. Though. The Jingle Cruise has the cool. They put the gifts in there, I agree. There's some good jokes.
I mean, you've got a tiger sitting right there. Do something with it. Say something. But yeah, and we have piranhas, which
that's true. I like the piranhas.
I feel like nobody takes the opportunity to make a Darla joke there, which kind of bothers me. The Pixar nerd in me. I want them to do something with that, but they don't. But yeah, I think I like ours. I keep saying ours. Like I have some sort of ownership.
It's cool, man.
I wish.
We have our home parks.
Right? I like Disneyland a little bit more, but it's so marginal. I mean, I love that attraction. Yeah, it's so fun.
I do too. And I don't like
the queue in World is better for sure.
It is. I was going to say, I don't like the idea of it changing, which we've heard rumors of. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was a test that Disney threw out there through a certain famous ex-wrestler who tweeted it a few months ago, but
you're welcome.
Yeah. Well done. All right. Moving on, I think we have 3 left. Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room. And you have to give your opinion first, because I know I went first last time.
I really like that you can get a Dole Whip on the way in Disneyland.
Agree completely.
That's the one edge. And also because it was Walt, and it didn't go through all the very many atrocious, I've heard, iterations.
You didn't under new management?
I never saw it.
Oh, dude, you count yourself lucky. That was terrible.
See, that's the thing. And I like the pre-show at Disney World, but to me, there's something about it's the first thing you hit when you walk in to Adventureland. You grab your Dole Whip, you walk on in. And again, I have very fond memories of my nephew just entranced by this attraction that I hadn't been on in so long. And by the time we were out, he was singing the song with me. So that to me is that gives it the warm and fuzzy edge.
Was it a kind of a well-kept secret that you can get a Dole Whip in the queue for years in Disneyland? I think I didn't know about that there were you can walk into the queue and go
on the other side.
Yeah. That was
I don't know.
I thought that was kind of a a well-kept, like, annual pass holder secret out there.
Maybe.
I know that I waited in that long line when I was out there.
All you had to do was go in.
Yeah. And now Disney World has taken a cue from Disneyland, and you can buy a Dole Whip next door at what the heck is it called? Aloha Isle.
Yeah.
And now you can take it into the Tiki Room, which you've been able to do in Disneyland for decades.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
That's the best way to enjoy that. And it's all about the Dole Whip float.
Yes.
I have discovered.
The Dole Whip float is excellent.
I can't wait. I'm getting one next week. Nice. I can't wait.
You know, it's one thing, again, really quickly about the because you said it has Walt kind of all over it, the original one in Disneyland. One thing that didn't make my interview with Rolly Crump was when I did it, I forget what episode that was. It was like 11, which was, by the way, way too early for me to interview a Disney legend. I almost said freaking. I think freaking's okay. I think it's not a bad word. So I'll say freaking Disney legend. It was way too early. But he was telling me before I hit the record button, that he was designing the tikis for the attraction. And he was trying to do it in the studio. And it was just something about the clay. It wasn't working out. So, excuse me, he took the clay out to the parking lot and got plastic cutlery from the cafeteria and used that to kind of draw the lines in the tiki that he ended up using in the attraction.
Oh my gosh. He did it in the parking lot?
He designed them in the parking lot, yeah. With like
stud.
A plastic fork. So I thought that was really cool.
Like you do. Necessity is the mother of invention, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
cool.
awesome.
That's a fun story. Anyway, all right, so let's see, we have 3 more. All right, so I'm going to go with all right, so Disneyland Railroad or the Walt Disney World Railroad. And I think, is it you, Lauren, or is it me?
It's you.
All right. You're like, dude. Go.
I chose the Disneyland Tiki Room.
Like, let's go, Jared. It's your turn.
No.
You know what? This is an easy one for me, and it's the Disneyland Railroad. It's the original. They built the first 2 engines from scratch, which I thought was really cool. They were Walt Disney's engines. He drove them. I have a big soft spot for anything Walt did. And the Primeval World and Grand Canyon, to me, are such cool, really, if you've never done it before, unexpected kind of things on the railroad that I think you have to give it to Disneyland.
Absolutely. I just bought my dad for Father's Day the Michael Broggie Walt Disney's Railroad book. That's, I guess, out of print because I had to go to some crazy place to get it. We've got railroaders in our family, the model railroaders. They're crazy people and they love it. And I, coming from that as a background and, having memories of that with my grandfather and then knowing how much it influenced everything Walt did, I can't go anywhere else. Like it has to be Disneyland. And the thing about Disneyland that's really cool of late is that because the train's been shut down, they have a railroad exhibit down in I'm losing where they do incredible moments with Abraham Lincoln Yes, the Opera House. Thank you. So they have a whole exhibit there and the engineers are not out of jobs. They are standing on the platform waiting to talk to you. So I went up there and spent like 45 minutes one day talking to an engineer about how this thing works. It's still, they're shoveling coal in there. It's steamy. It's hot. They have to know how to work this ancient contraption, essentially. And it's just so interesting to learn about the actual machines and how much love and care still goes into tending them because it was Walt who, he brought that into the parks and that was such a defining thing for him. So, I mean, just everything around it. Not to say it's not a nice ride in Florida, but I think it's something else out here and it's something you're not going to see anywhere else.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think it is. There is something like definitely extra special about the trains in Disneyland. Yeah, without a doubt. Way better.
And the Lily
Way
Bell.
better. And the Lily Bell, yeah, which I still haven't seen.
Oh, she's beautiful.
I got to get in there sometime.
We'll go.
I was told by my friend who was working out there that I was going to see it next week, so we'll see what happens.
Nice.
But he recently got promoted, and he has this crazy job where he's in charge of a lot of the D23 celebrities they're bringing in. So he might not have a lot of time for me.
Might have to wrangle.
Yeah, he does. He's going to be doing a lot of Kim Kardashian watching, I think.
Yes.
I don't think it'll be her, but it's been her in the past. I don't think she'll be there. But yeah, he's going to be doing a lot of celebrity dealings and stuff. So that's kind of a
tough life.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so last two. This one, I know you know which one I'm saving for last. This one I'm going with. The next one, Main Street Vehicles, actually. And the reason I'd say this for kind of one of the last ones is, again, it's another one that Walt Disney touched, right? So to me, I think, and I know it's probably not my turn. I don't even care anymore.
Doesn't matter.
I have a couple left. But
we're all friends here.
Yeah, exactly. But to me, I think, again, because Walt Disney had such a hand in them, and because Disneyland was his park, again, I have to give the nod to the vehicles in Disneyland over one in Disney World, even though they're really close as far as build and all that goes. They're, 16 years apart from when they debuted, and one debuted with Walt Disney, the other did not. So that's why I'm giving my nod to Disneyland. I don't know how you feel about that. I don't even know if you have made a habit of riding them at all.
I have of late. This is something that I never did as a kid, and just sort of realized that I was missing out on part of the Disney history and Disney lore. And it's something I've done in Land, not World. And the first one that I ever looked at and went, why am I not on that? Like, this is silly. Let's go for a ride. I was with my friend, and we got into the fire engine.
Oh yeah. The coolest one.
Yeah, by far, very cool. But the driver told us that it was the last picture of Walt in the parks is of him driving the fire engine. I don't know if that's true. Obviously that was what he told us, and he was on the clock. So, I would assume as a face of the company that he would know that, because I think they, similar to the train engineers, really understand, the mechanics of what they're driving, just because they are so old and require such special care. So I don't know if that's true, but that was a really cool thing to have as like the first experience doing the Main Street cars. Yeah. Be like, wow, okay, that's amazing. Also, when you're going down Main Street with all of the, Sunday clothes from Hello Dolly playing, and, there's just something so magical about it. And there's something about the castle being very small and diminutive at that point, that being in the cars, I don't know, it just feels more like a town, I guess, than World sometimes does. So very, very special. And I think it just adds to the magic of the park where Walt walked.
Yeah, I agree. And the guy that you had driving you on the fire truck, they have the fire engine. There's one guy, I forget his name, that's been driving the fire engine since '83. And
wow,
he is the main guy in charge. And the reason I know this is because I looked it up today. That's why it's really kind of fresh in my mind. Because he started out in the 70s in, I forget, somewhere else on Main Street, and then moved to transportation, and thought he was going to be working the parking lot. But his first day, they trained him on the Main Street vehicles. And ever since then, in '83, he's been the main driver, like 40 hours a week for the fire engine. So
wow.
Chances are you had that guy. And escapes me. And he is like a true Disneyland historian, and he knows pretty much everything about the park. So, yeah,
how cool.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
It probably is true then.
Yeah, What I love about the fire engine, and I'm glad you mentioned it, was there's another Imagineer story. Bob Gurr, who's legendary Disneyland Imagineer. In I think it was 57 or 58, Walt Disney comes into Bob Gurr's office, and they're sitting there just talking, and Bob always wanted a fire engine. He thought that was the coolest thing. So he says to Walt, Walt, one thing we don't have in Disneyland is a fire engine. We have a fire station, but no engine. And Walt was like, yeah, you're right. We don't have an engine. So later that day, Bob Gurr gets a phone call from accounting, and they say, the charge number for the fire engine is, and they give him a number. So Walt literally left Bob Gurr's office, went down to accounting, and ordered the fire engine. So Bob Gurr designed this thing, built it from, scratch, from some, I don't know what kind of automobile, he built it from, and then drove it down the freeway to Disneyland with a top speed of 35 miles an hour.
Wow.
In 1958. So
no, thank you.
The I-5 freeway, I think it was.
Yep, the 5.
I don't know that one. But yeah, I know you would. So
it's what you take to get to Disney.
All right. So he drove it in 58 doing the top speed of 35 miles an hour from where they built it to Disneyland. So I thought that was a cool story.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was Walt's favorite one to drive around Disneyland. So that's very, very cool.
How neat.
All right. So the last one, of course, the last one on the list is...
Bringing it full circle?
Yep. We started with it. We're ending with it. Pirates of the Caribbean. And because I think it's your turn anyway, you go, Lauren. What do you think?
Oh, I think land.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue.
There's the extra scenes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's there's something very special about it. I think the way it opens with, you see all of the pirates, they're, dead. They're not in a living state. You see, the riches that they wrought, and then they come to life, and you see how they got there. And then the timbers at the end is so cool. I like that effect. To me is like my childhood nightmare, kind of, because I was afraid of fire, like being trapped somewhere that was on fire, because it was so realistic, and the slight swaying, and you just feel like at any moment it's going to crash in on your head. It's a slow ride. It's a very I don't know. You can experience everything really fully, all the detail, and to me, that makes it such a special thing. So that's my favorite. And Blue Bayou. I mean, going through the bayou, having the restaurant right there, hearing the diners, the clink of china, all of that you get transported to this other place.
Dude, you set the setting perfectly. Like that, I swear to God, I'm like listening to you with the clink of the china. I'm like, yeah, I feel that's perfect. That's exactly how it is. And you're right. Like the story is just complete, like from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. That's what makes it perfect in Disneyland. Is Disney World, it feels a little rushed, but in Disneyland, it doesn't. Like you have the old guy on the porch in the bayou, and, with the banjo.
My dad's retirement home, nice. He always claimed.
Nice. Dude, that would be the greatest to be a little room in there. Oh,
yeah. He's got a jug, I think, of whiskey in Miami.
He's got his banjo. He's hanging out. It's perfect, man. But from that, and then to the skeletons, to the, it's. I think they said it's like a time. You're time traveling, right?
Yeah.
To the skeletons, which isn't that far back in time, and then back further to when the pirates were alive, and then it ends with you still on the boat going up the ramp, coming back into the time that you left originally. Mm-hmm. That's like a full story. It's full circle. It's the entire story. Disney Worlds, I don't think, has that whole story. And it's still a great attraction, but I think it's like 7 extra minutes or something in Disneyland.
Is it really?
I think it's 7, yeah.
I would have guessed longer.
Well, I mean, you have the
weird.
No, it's not, because the caverns in the beginning are so much bigger. And then,
oh yeah,
like you said at the end with the timbers in there and the everything's moving and there's gunpowder and you're like, what, this isn't going to end well, and it doesn't, obviously, because that's, I guess, how they all become skeletons in the first place. Such a cool, like full circle, full story attraction.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's my favorite attraction in Disneyland. Just because, for that reason. And I remember I always loved Pirates in Walt Disney World for my first trip. But when I saw it in Disneyland, I was like, wow, I didn't realize what I was missing. Like, it's just a better attraction. And there's like little things outside that kind of tell the story too that I don't even understand. There's like the archway that's cemented in that's supposed to be like do you know what I'm talking about? The little...
No.
There's outside of Pirates, there's when you walk outside and make a left towards the Rivers of America. And there's like two different like walkways. There's like a lower one and a higher one.
Yeah.
The lower one has this archway that's cemented shut, and it looks like it used to be a path that would go underneath Pirates, and it has like a 16-something date to it. And I think that's supposed to be, I forget what it is. It's like that was closed off after the Pirates left, like or something like that. So it's a cool little nod to the attraction.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's such a cool thing. And Disneyland's full of that. It's full of those little details that you wouldn't ever, like, you never see unless you looked it up on a blog or like a podcast like this, because we're
absolutely
2+ hours in. So
I
Lauren,
know.
Thank you so much. This was like, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe we talked this long. But thank you so much for coming on and for helping me. This is a lot of fun, and this is for a Disney nerd like me, man. I could talk for another hour, but me
too.
It's my bedtime, and I know it's probably close to yours.
Yes, point. We're getting there.
So thank you so much for coming. This is a lot of fun.
Well, thank you for having me. This is seriously one of my favorite things to do is talk about the two parks, compare them. And I think going to the attractions, like that just is something that I could do for hours as well. So I'm sure we'll continue this conversation at D23.
Oh yeah, wait. Because I said you and Amy and my kids will be running away from me when I'm like, hey, you know what this is right here? How about this? So,
oh no, I will be there with my notepad ready to learn.
So, all right. So this is kind of, I want to tell people where they can kind of find you on the internet and all that good stuff. So whatever you got, wherever you are, tell people where they can find you.
So I don't do anything in the Disney space, but if you
okay, you do
SAT
stuff.
or ACT prep, I teach test prep at higherscorestestprep.com. And I also do a little dabbling in podcasting to help entrepreneurs. So my podcast is called The Unsexy Side, and you can find it at laurengagioli.com, or if you search on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. I also have another podcast about college admissions, which you can find at the Higher Scores Test Prep website as well. So if you're interested in either of those two things, that's where you'd find me. Otherwise, Lauren Gagioli, it's kind of a unique name. Get in touch. I'm on Facebook and all that. And I'm always clearly very happy to talk about all things Disneyland or World or movies or whatnot. So,
and she's registered at Babies R Us.
If you want to send a present, my registry. Yes, please.
If you want to send a baby present, listen, she'll take everything she can get out there right now. So,
seriously,
right.
First one. We got a lot to learn.
Two words: wipes warmer. I'm telling you,
this is something I keep hearing.
That'll save you a lot of screaming baby moments. So,
all right.
Thanks again. You're the best. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Phil.
And that is going to do it, finally, for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thank you so much to my friend Lauren Gagioli, who stuck it out with me despite the fact that we went for over 2 hours. She and I, when we get passionate, when we start talking about Disneyland versus Disney World, I swear I could have talked for another hour and a half. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sticking it out. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. It's one that was a ton of fun to record. I love talking about that kind of stuff. And I know Lauren does as well. So thank you so much for listening. It is, as always, greatly, greatly appreciated. And again, I hope you enjoyed the episode. And if you did, all I ask is that you tell someone about it. So tell your friends, tell your family, tell that Disneyland fan, the Magic Kingdom fan, the Epcot fan. Tell someone. Word of mouth is really the best way for this podcast to get around, and I want more people to hear it. So thank you so much in advance for telling even one person about the show. All right, just remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as a new episode of the Ear to There podcast, Word of the Week, each and every Wednesday morning. I gotta go. I'm going to Disneyland in 2 days. So until next time, have a fantastic, a phenomenal week. Thanks again. Bye-bye.